Hello, YouTube. We're in the process of a patch. The PTR is there, and everybody agrees that it's time to nerf ghouls, especially Ghoul Frenzy. Currently, that is addressed in a reduction of the ghoul attack speed and the timing of which Frenzy is done. We are of the opinion that that is not the correct way. While we want to get away from the 9-minute timing push of Ghoul Frenzy, attack speed is overrated. And today we're going to show you why. So we talked about this before. Frenzy is giving attack speed and movement speed to the ghouls. The attack speed buff has been increased in a previous patch a couple of years ago. And a lot of people say that that is the reason why ghouls are so oppressive. Today, we talk about why that is not the case. And for that, I got an Excel sheet by Don Dolare, and I got Don Dolare on the call. And together, we will tell you why nerfing attack speed isn't the way to go. So, Dondo is on. Welcome, mate.
Hello.
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 Back to talk about our favorite topic, isn't it?
Ghoul Frenzy, yeah.
Ghoul
Never
Frenzy
stops being the topic of the town.
So, can you again explain to the people who didn't watch previous explanations why that attack speed buff might be overrated by the general public?
Yeah, so in general, the attack speed, increasing attack speed in general basically works as a reduction of cooldown between attacks, right? That's like what it does in practical terms. That means that the most significant change you do by increasing attack speed is increasing damage over time. The initial first attack will still hit instantly, or the animation speed basically, and then you set up a cooldown until next attack, and then that keeps on going and going until the DPS, basically, like the damage the unit does over time, is realized at some point in the future. So the thing is, you have to do quite significant changes on attack speed before you see large differences in how many attacks they will do within a reasonable amount of time.
Damn, that would be great if someone would have done the math how much that really does.
Yeah, and of course my math here might not be perfect, so if people want to fix it or something wrong with it, then it's good as well. But I wanted to look at how does in practical terms, how does the values of the attack speed changes would actually meaningfully change amount of attacks, how much damage it would do, etc. between different values. Hence the setup you're showing on stream now. The legendary Excel sheets. Sol Apeman would be proud of me, I think.
Can you explain real quick what you did and what we compare?
Yeah, so if you're trying to calculate what will this difference do, you have to think of the first time a ghoul attacks is basically 0 seconds, right? Because then you first hit, then you start counting. Okay, so how long until next attack, and then the next attack. That's the cooldown, right, between attacks. And using that, we can see the amount of attacks you would get within a certain time frame per different attack speed increase level. So I basically plotted in for 35%, which is currently what it would be with 30% and what it would be with 25%. And I think the way most meaningfully to look at nerfs like this is that what it actually changes in most use cases is that it's slightly, or we don't have to say slightly, that depends on the values, right? But it reduces or increases the probability of you getting that extra attack, basically. So if you compare 25 to 35% after 6 seconds, it's just above 7 and just below 7, right? So if the game worked in that people always played in seconds and just everything was revolved around that, that would mean that it reduces the chance of the ghoul getting that one extra attack that does 13 damage, right?
Yeah.
But the point I would say these values to, especially when you look at 35 versus 30%, the amounts of attack you get within a time frame is very slightly changed. It's extremely, I would say it's very small to the more or less to the fact that it becomes basically nothing. And that is especially true since ghouls are fast and they never. From what I watched, I think I watched like 15 or 30 happy games to check this. And ghouls barely never attack more than maybe 3, max 5 times before they move and then attack again. And I would say the normal amount is probably more 2 to 4 before they reset and start attacking again. So, and when you start moving your units, the cooldown is reset, right? You're not still like keeping the attack rate going. And then it's basically back to the first attack again. So this change, like changing attack speed, has a lot less impact compared to basically changing any other type of value for attack damage.
So we're talking about a damage mitigation right now of 2 over 3 to 4 seconds.
Yes, that would be the practical implication.
That's nothing.
That will be nothing. In a way, I guess, like if you want to defend this change more, it would be to say, but it slightly increases the odds of you not getting the 4th attack in if you only still had 3. Hence, you would do 13 less damage, right? Mm-hmm. But that seems very theoretical, and the differences between like in time between the 3rd and 4th attack is so small that it feels very theory crafted to me to actually think that would be like meaningfully of a change. It's under half a second's difference, right, between the amount, or under half attack difference. That's also under half a second.
Yeah.
So yeah,
we're talking about a DPS reduction of 0.5, pretty much, which is also nothing. The only way where this would be meaningful would be in base races, where you attack buildings that can't move away from you, usually.
Yeah, but I think even like when you're attacking buildings, it's pretty rare for a unit to attack more than maybe 7-8 times before you do like a side movement or like something gets in the way. But yeah, that would be like the main difference of doing DPS, like DPS decreases by attack speed. It's just its damage over time that would be like very stationary. So it's probably buildings is the obvious one. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are reducing the damage of ghouls, which are usually seen as a problem, by this little, and reducing damage of headhunters, which is not a significant problem in the scale of a ghoul, by 1 per attack. That seems a bit unreasonable.
Yeah, say that again. My mind. I was reading chat as well. I can't do both. My bad. Sorry.
Nerfing ghouls this little when we also reduce the damage of headhunters seems very unreasonable. And this brings us back to like 2 other things. A, was the initial ghoul frenzy attack speed nerf the reason for ghouls to be OP? And I think with these stats, we can conclude that that's not the case.
Yeah, that is correct.
Very good. So players just find better usage of ghouls and got better at using ghouls and created timings with ghouls, obviously. Then this leads us to a second question. How do we nerf ghouls then so that they are less oppressive? Because we all know the timing of 9 minutes. We all know the late game stages of Undead vs. Orc right now, where we've seen 19 ghouls in the late game just destroying Lynn. So we need to find another way to hurt Ghoul Frenzy.
Yeah, that is at least my suggestion, because I think you need to change attack speed increases to such a big, like you at least have to go to 25%, but maybe even go further before it actually becomes very meaningful in most cases. Yeah, I had this theory for a while now that I think the Frenzy upgrade, like the Frenzy buff for the research upgrade, was very overvalued in how Frenzy ghouls were used. It's more to do with how people are starting to use them and other changes that have synergized. Because the damage increase is not that substantial, even going from 25 to 35%. So, I mean, I think there's 2 obvious directions you can go. If the target is to reduce the pure power level of ghouls, not just the timing. Like if only the timing you're interested in, you can do research to infinity, basically, right? And only address that. If you want to reduce the general power level of ghouls, I guess like you either have to go attack speed, but even a lot more. You could go damage, but then like if you go just from the like base damage, it's a pretty big change. You don't have to do a lot of like damage values reduction before it becomes pretty significant, because you changed ghouls in the mid game, early game, every parts of the ghoul usage. Then you don't target frenzy ghouls, you target ghouls, which maybe is not as problematic. Then maybe you have to do like some counter, you have to give them more HP, because like it becomes a lot more complicated. So maybe the other thing that a lot of people have pointed out is maybe to either not look at attack damage, but look at movement speed.
Yeah.
So that's the other obvious change, I would say.
Exactly.
If you want to do it, then you don't do the attack speed reduction, I would say. Like you don't do changes along 3 dimensions, but you target one thing for the frenzy timing, and you target one thing for the frenzy ghouls themselves.
Yeah, I agree, because if you increase the cost, that is basically just an increase of, like, you just delay it, just like with the research time. That doesn't do anything in the ultra late game. Movement speed is, as we oftentimes say, the most important stat in the game. Plus, this gets also buffed by Unholy Aura all the time. So attacking ghouls in research time and movement speed seem to be the right thing to do, not research time and attack speed, as attack speed doesn't matter.
Yeah, or you have to reduce it to such a big degree that it becomes maybe a bit like, I don't know, it's unwieldy. And then that makes them a lot worse against buildings, of course, if you do a lot of attacks. You basically, because that matters a lot more against stationary targets over a long time, it will make them substantially worse against buildings before they actually become worse against units, basically, right? And that, again, depends on what your goal is here. So
that's right. Yep. So that's our conclusion. Keep on nerfing Ghoul Frenzy, but not in attack speed, but movement speed.